Nkune TV news de ɛdɛw so na wohwɛ yi na arahosɛm a bɛtɔ yɛ pono so ɛne sɛ ɔman Ghana kame ayɛ sɛ aman bebree wɔ hɔ nom a yɛne ɔmu na ɛsii so ebi kura wɔ hɔ nom a yɛsi mu agya wɔ mu wohwɛ ɔman bi te sɛ South Korea, Singapore, Malaysia ɛne aman ahodoɔ pii a yɛyi kura yɛsi mu agya wɔ mu ansa na ɔmo nso ɛbɛsim nanso ɔmo nyinaa tumi abɛsan yɛn ho wɔ mpuntuom na afei nso kura ɔmanfo no asetenam ɛkɔ yie ɛkyɛn yɛyɛ man mu deɛ ɛsɛ no abɛka yɛn sɛ bibia mu gye sɛ yɛn mmɔfra anaasɛ yɛn mmabunu no ɔmo tu kwan ɛkɔ aman foforɔ so na ɔmo akɔyɛ adwuma ne nyinaa ne sɛ mpanyinfoɔ ntumi ntoto nneɛma yie sɛ de bɛyɛ a ɔmanfoɔ no ɛbɛtumi atena ɔman Ghana na ɔmo ayɛ adwuma na ɔmo nsa akɔ ɔman no gye sɛ ne nyinaa no yɛkɔ nkurɔfoɔ aman so na ne kɔfa aban so no kame ayɛ sɛ yɛn mpanyinfoɔ no na soboɔ no nyinaa ɛkɔma ɔmo ɛwɔ sɛ ɔmo ntoto nneɛma yie nti ayɛ sɛ ɔman no yɛde sɔneɛ paa na yɛde kɔ nsuo ne nyinaa ne sɛ aban a ɛtwa mu ɛkɔfa project bi bayɛ ne ato ne din National Cathedral na saa National Cathedral no ɛbaeɛ no ɛho nsɛnsɛm bebree ne nyinaa ne sɛ sika abura mu no ɛnya adeɛ a yɛhuhu adwuma sɛ wokɔpiem hɔ sisi a adeɛ paa bɛhu no wɔ National Cathedral ne premises hɔ no ɛyɛ amena donkodonko a yɛtu ada hɔ no mu a hwee ɛni ho pila koraa nhyɛ dɛ nsisi pila wɔ mu no ɛnuru bɛyɛ aduasa koraa nanso sɛ yɛbɔ ho ka ɛkyerɛ wo a woyam bɛhyɛ wo ɛbɛtɔ odwa no na obiara anim sɛ ɛyɛ 58 million ɛna ɛyɛ saa National Cathedral no ɛka a ɛkɔ wuram saa amena donkodonko na ɛda hɔ no nsuo akɔtaa mu no na nsɛm mu koraa no maburu bi bufu yɛ kurom kɔdeda mu ɛkɔdware sɛ anya hwɛ no sɛ ɔman Ghana ntumi ansi National Cathedral na ama anyɛ nsrahwɛ sɛdeɛ na Kanema mpanyine His Excellency ɛyɛ Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo wɔsusu yɛ sɛ ɔyɛ no no na sɛ wayɛ ne nsuo sideɛ no mbɛdware mu ahyɛ ne din mu nyam mu kɔdware mu na nya asɛm ketewa koraa na ɛno ana aban sesa yɛyɛ ɔmo yɛ nhwehwɛmu hu sɛ 58 million na ɛkɔhyɛ mu no ɛnya adeɛ a atumi aboa man no ne nyinaa ne sɛ sika no ahye ɛkɔpɔ amana no ɛntumi ɛnsi dan no na sɛ ɔman no de sɔneɛ paa na akɔ nsuo a yɛntumi anya sika no na ɛno ana yɛ aban sesa baeɛ no mpanyinfoɔ yɛ ɔmo adwene sɛ kwan biara so no ɔmo bɛhwehwɛ mu ayɛ mu ɛkyɛ sɛ hwehwɛ mu korɔgyee ɛho sɛdeɛ ɛsi ɛkɔ ɛno nti no mpanyinfoɔ so ka wɔ tipa ho sɛ ɛyɛ ampa ɛyɛ adwene papa na His Excellency John Dramani Mahama ɛde aba sɛ ɔmo bɛtumi ahwehwɛ mu na ɛnɛ yɛn ka bi nhyia mu yɛn nkɔte ɛhyɛ nsɛntwerɛfoɔ nhyia mu yɛ frɛ nsɛntwerɛfoɔ adan a yɛde dan no akɔma audit service foɔ sɛ ɔmo nyɛ mu adwuma ti ɔmo akɔyɛ audit fikɔ report no aba abɔnten na report no ba yɛ mu nsɛm deɛ ɛsɛ degyaa ayɛ awerɛhosɛm papa ma Ghana ni biara baabi ɔnam biara wɔ sine trase nkankan ne wɔn a wɔwɔ akwantuo bi sɛ sɛdeɛ wɔn fɛfoɔ si huru wɔ mu sere wɔ mu no ɛtwetwe wɔ mu no ne nyinaa ne sɛ National Cathedral no yɛnim sɛ ɛyɛ 58 million dollars ana akɔwura mu yɛkɔyɛ report no ma report no ba ne bobo mu baabaa mu a Felix Ofosu Kwakye wokɔ ɛyɛ presidency a wɔn na yɛ minister for communication wabɛbaabaa mu akyerɛkyerɛ mu sɛ ɛnyɛ 58 sɛdeɛ yɛadwene no hwɛ ɛyɛ $97 million ɛna bi nso ebo ɛbaa ne sɛn ɛne ɔpanyin nya abotrɛ ebi asɛm kyerɛkyerɛ mu na ɔsehwɛ 58 ne deɛ yɛ report bi a bandada no trɛ to hɔ sɛ 58 saa ne yɛn ka kyerɛ Ghanafoɔ na ɔmo nso baayɛ na ɔmo de ma auditors ɔmo nso so ehwirehwire mu ɔmo ebie mu tie nneɛma ase yie no ɛyɛ $97 million na ɛno na akɔyɛ ne nguasɛde ama ɔman Ghana paa sɛ obi kɔbɔ amena kɛkɛ 97 yɛnkɔ ne de yɛnkotie nsɛm a ɛwɔ mu na yɛbɛsan atoa so
payment of $39 million due the contractor. Now, when added up, this brings the total costs incurred so far for the whole that sits at the site of the project to $97 million. Also, due to the lopsided nature of the contract, additional costs continue to accrue daily, despite the cessation of work on the project since March 2023. Now, I want to take you through some of the findings contained in the audit report, because there are those who have claimed that this audit report in question exonerates some persons. Now, let me touch on discrepancies in consultancy fees paid to Sir David Ajayi and Associates Limited. The audit report reveals that there were troubling discrepancies in consultancy fees paid to Sir David Ajayi and Associates Limited for the mobilization and design of the National Cathedral of Ghana. Now, while the Office of the President confirms a total payment of 113,040,564 cedis only, the firm, that is Sir David Ajayi and Associates Limited, reports having received 117,972,656 Ghana cedis, which gives a variance of 4.9 million Ghana cedis, which as of now remains unexplained. Payment records show that 87,938,750 cedis was paid by the Ministry of Finance between 26 September 2018 and 25 November 2019. Subsequently, the Office of the President made two payments, one which was 29,664,845.29 Ghana cedis on 19 February 2021, and another 369,060 Ghana cedis on 5th March 2021, bringing the presidency's total contribution to 30,033,906 Ghana cedis. Combined, these payments amount to 117,972,656 Ghana cedis received by the firm. Variations in contract amounts with Rebadi JV. The formal executed agreement with Rebadi JV puts the contract sum at 261,965,660 million US dollars, which is exclusive of taxes and levies. However, quotes a contract sum of 268,500,000 US dollars, while interim payment certificates or IPCs submitted for payment estimates the final contract value at 283,230,489 US dollars. These inconsistent figures, spanning from the legally binding agreement to the reported progress and payment claims, point to a lack of coherence and clarity in the contract administration and project cost control. Now, differences in payments and outstanding amounts owed to the Nehemiah Group. The audit also draws attention to notable discrepancies in the financial transactions between the government of Ghana and the Nehemiah Group, a consultant on the National Cathedral project. According to the Office of the President, a total of 4,281,702.59 US dollars has been paid to the Nehemiah Group. However, the Nehemiah Group confirms receiving 4,341,702.59 US dollars, indicating the difference of 60,000 US dollars that remains unaccounted for. More concerning is the wide variation in the amounts both parties claim are outstanding. While the Office of the President indicates an outstanding balance of 1,851,528 US dollars, the Nehemiah Group states that only 155,616.23 US dollars remains unpaid, a difference of nearly 1.7 million US dollars. These inconsistencies point to significant lapses in contract and payment reconciliation processes, and they call for immediate investigation to uphold transparency and fiscal responsibility. Procurement irregularities and discrepancies in contract sums in relation to Sir David Ajayi and Associates. The audit report also uncovers serious procurement irregularities in the engagement of Sir David Ajayi and Associates Limited as lead consultant for the National Cathedral project. Between 26 September 2018 and 7 June 2019, a total of 15,600,000 738,750 Ghana cedis was paid to Sir David Ajayi well before the formal agreement was signed on 20th August 2019. This payment also preceded the approval of the contract sum of 5,850,000 Ghana cedis by the Public Procurement Authority, raising red flags about non-compliance with established procurement protocols. Furthermore, the appointment of the firm was done through sole sourcing, a method that demands strict justification and prior approval under Ghana's procurement laws. These actions represent a clear breach of procurement procedures as outlined in Section 41 and 2 of the Public Procurement Act 2003, Act 663, as amended by Act 914, and raise serious concerns about transparency, value for money, and adherence to due process in the award and execution of public contracts. Further concerns arise from the audit findings regarding the contract with Sir David Ajayi and Associates Limited for the National Cathedral project. First, portions of the total contract value, specifically the mobilization fee of $1.5 million and a use aftercare component of $1,187,500 were included in the payment schedule, but lack any detailed breakdown or explanation for their composition, raising questions about the basis and justification for these sums. Moreover, there is a discrepancy of $861,000 in the mobilization fee figures. While the Office of the President confirms a payment of only $89,000, a letter from Sir David Ajayi and Associates dated 13th August 2020 states that $950,000 was received as mobilization, a gap that requires urgent clarification. Additionally, David Ajayi is reported to have undertaken extra work estimated at $12,430,221 under variation orders 1, 2, and 3, covering major design changes, including a 350-seater restaurant, a museum extension, and a Bible museum. However, these additions were not captured in the original signed contract, indicating a failure to formally regularize significant scope changes before making payments regarding these additions. Questionable payments and overlapping roles involving the Nehemiah Group and Associates. The audit exposes troubling findings concerning the contractual relationship with the Nehemiah Group, represented by Mr. Kari Samis and other associated entities. The agreement between the National Cathedral Secretariat and the Nehemiah Group, initially signed for a one-year term beginning 9th March 2020, was subject to renewal on agreements of the parties. The renewal was never done. Despite this, payments of the Nehemiah Group continued, amounting to $523,521, a clear violation of contract governance protocols. Furthermore, the Nehemiah Group confirmed receiving $110,630.56 for organizing fundraising events in Houston and New York, all in the United States, purportedly aimed at securing support from external investors. Strangely, these events yielded no tangible results in terms of donations or investment, raising serious concerns about the prudence of this expenditure and the absence of performance-based accountability. Even more troubling is the overlap in responsibilities and associated costs between the Nehemiah Group and Kubik Maltby, a subcontractor. Although the Nehemiah Group was assigned coordination and oversight roles during phase 1 of the project, Kubik Maltby was separately contracted for the same project management and coordination services at a cost of $592,500. This figure represents approximately 87% of the total $675,000 paid to the Nehemiah Group over the same period. indicating a clear case of paying two entities for the same work where it was unclear which of them was actually doing the work and which was taking government money for free. This apparent lack of clarity and delineation of responsibilities reflects poorly on project oversight and resource management. Additionally, reimbursable expenses amounting to $24,498.17 were paid to the Nehemiah Group for items completely unrelated to construction oversight. These include costs that fall outside the intended scope of their engagement, further compounding concerns over inefficiency, a lack of accountability, and the effective use of public resources on this project. Unsubstantiated loan transaction with JNS Talent Center Limited. The audit report also highlights a deeply concerning financial transaction involving JNS Talent Center Limited, a company owned by Reverend Kusi Boateng, a member of the National Cathedral Board of Trustees. A letter dated 26 August 2021 from the Executive Director of the National Cathedral Secretariat requested a loan of 2.6 million Ghana cedis from JNS Talent Center. However, no loan agreement was cited to establish the terms, conditions, interest rates, or repayment obligations of the facility. Despite this glaring omission, the amount was subsequently repaid to JNS Talent Center Limited using project funds. The absence of a formal agreement raises serious red flags regarding transparency, due diligence, and potential conflict of interest. Let me turn attention to irregularities in donation records, documentation, and internal controls. The audit report has also revealed worrying administrative and financial irregularities surrounding donations, documentation, and internal governance at the National Cathedral Secretariat. Notably, a total of 38,294,693 Ghana cedis in mobile money transactions remain unreconciled due to failed or unsuccessful transfers. These transactions could not be validated with any external party, casting significant doubts on the reliability of reported donation figures and the integrity of the donation management system. Furthermore, inconsistencies were identified in the 2021 records of donations received through the short code and Momo Pay ID platforms. The trial balance showed a variance of 42,791 Ghana cedis for short code receipts and 72,944 Ghana cedis for Momo Pay ID receipts when compared to the corresponding donation schedules. Notably, no such records were made available for 2022 and 2023, raising questions about the continuity of record keeping and transparency. In addition, lapses in internal controls were identified. The oath of secrecy documents required of procurement committee members was neither signed nor dated, containing only the names of members, a clear deviation from standard corporate governance practices. Equally troubling is the failure of management to produce supporting documents for several transactions, including board secretary expenses, office costs, and accommodation for a symposium hosted by the Biblical Museum of Africa. Out of a total of 949,847 Ghana cedis, an amount of 292,681 Ghana cedis remains unsupported. Unsupported expenditures and weak financial oversight in financial year 2022. The audit report for the 2022 financial year uncovers a troubling pattern of poor accounting practices, unsupported expenditures, and lapses in financial oversight at the National Cathedral Secretariat. A key example involves accommodation payments from Mr. Kari Sames, who was lodged at the Movenpick Hotel from 16th to 28th February 2022 at a cost of 18,500 Ghana cedis. However, only 4,976 Ghana cedis was recorded in the books, with no documentation accounting for the remaining 13,300 524 Ghana cedis, which was reportedly a refund issued by the hotel but not traceable in the financial records. Additionally, a trip to the United States by Dr. Paul Opoku Mensah and Reverend Kusi Boateng cost a total of 28,433.60 Ghana cedis, drawn from the Fidelity USD account on 12 October 2022. Strangely, despite this prepayment, a separate approval of $20,504.95 for the same trip was later granted by the Chief of Staff on 18 October 2022, raising concerns about duplicated approvals and a lack of coordination in financial planning. Further issues include payments totaling $17,000 made under accountable interest without supporting documentation, covering hotel accommodation, which was $15,000, internal transportation of $1,000, and incidentals of another $1,000 for two unnamed officials. The absence of receipts or accountability for these funds suggests weak internal controls. Moreover, a memo from the head of operations authorized 20,000 Ghana cedis for payments to bloggers and media houses. However, there was no evidence of approval from the Director of Finance and Administration. While 14,700 Ghana cedis was disbursed, no documentation exists to confirm whether the remaining 5,300 Ghana cedis was refunded. Lastly, the Secretariat paid 117,180 Ghana cedis, equivalent to $18,000 at a rate of 6.51 Ghana cedis at the time, to the board secretary in January 2022 to rent accommodation. Yet again, there was a lack of supporting documentation to substantiate the purpose, duration, or approval basis for these payments. Non-compliance with the law in the composition of the procurement committee. The audit report revealed that the National Cathedral of Ghana project violated Section 20 and the first schedule, that is Category B, of the Public Procurement Act 2023, Act 663, as amended by Act 914, in the establishment of its procurement committee. The committee, as constituted, failed to meet the legally mandated composition, including the absence of the key statutory members required by law. In addition, the roles of chairperson and secretary were improperly designated, contrary to the clear provisions of the Act. This non-compliance undermines the legitimacy of documentation of procurement decisions taken by the committee and raises serious questions about the integrity and legality of the procurement processes executed under its authority. Now, in view of the above, which rock the very foundation of the project and the work of the Secretariat and raise serious questions about the use of public funds, President John Dramani Mahama has directed that the following steps be taken. 1. The National Cathedral Secretariat, which used to operate from here at the presidency, stands dissolved as of 1st May 2025. Now, the National Cathedral Ghana was registered as limited by guarantee. In view of that, the Attorney General has been directed to take legal steps to ensure the dissolution of the Board of Trustees. And we expect that to be done in the coming days. Now, 3, the President has ordered that in the interest of transparency and accountability, the Deloitte and Touche audit reports will be published immediately after this briefing. So we will share copies with you, media men present, and we'll also put it out on various portals and social media handles so that the public can access it and review the contents for themselves and see whether the claims that some individuals have been exonerated is borne out by the contents of the report. Now, despite the damning findings contained in the Deloitte audit report, it does not cover the full scope of operations of the National Cathedral Secretariat and the project itself. The Auditor General has therefore been requested to commission a forensic audit into the National Cathedral project and the activities of the Secretariat. Powerful steps to ensure the termination of the contract to prevent further costs and losses to the state. As I indicated, because of how lopsided the contract is, even as the contractor has ceased work at the site from March 2023 to date, he still continues to accrue payments. And we find that this will impose significant costs on the state. And therefore, President Mahama has ordered the Attorney General to take legal steps to terminate this lopsided contract so that we save on costs that will accrue to the state. Now, after the forensic report, after the forensic audit, decisive action will be taken regarding any impropriety determined and the future of the project itself. I must indicate that the National Cathedral project is one of the many cases being investigated under the oral initiative. And once the forensic audit findings become available, they will add onto the body of evidence that will be looked into. And based on the determination that is made in terms of any act of impropriety, persons responsible will be held.
Odofo ensem no nyina ana odumonyamfo Felix Ofosukwache ahwiegu ho no utimu se eyawra hosem pa de mo man Ghana se project pa obi ani da so se yesi project ama abakoye ahohoje bia je se fa ne se akoye se ba bia ahoho betimi aba bebo mani akohoma te se ayesensrahwe na ne sa Ghana ni bia so pekura na obetuma akoho akosua de ni ade ma Ghana fo nyina boje so se ne eye na fi de ko wiase a ade Cathedral ya de asofo akase atitire na nintire na gu ano no sika sone fa ni pansa se wa sa na awra ho sam kura wo mu ne se sika bi kura ba be di mu kura wo boss wa ye sa abye Ghana fo nyina hi kura ye se 4.9 million Ghana cedis bi ba mu a 4.9 million no e de ben sika ye se bi de discrepancy in consultancy payment bi aye twema one David ajaye bi a chese one ne firm sika free National Cathedral for insem say omo consultation chese sika no ne ye wa ma manfo saa eno na ama na be ya wure ho sempo pa say enyewanwa say obehu Ghana ni na ne bag bonachi ku awokọ hia me Libya nam desert so saa ma manfo hunamane wodiri ofin ayi nije betwitwa gathers kwan no nam desert so basa chese e mane ya wura ho sempo pa say oman pa iwo sika sei na agudi bie wo wiase anya hwe no ye wo mufa e wo oman Ghana mu nanso so emrante wa ne maye brenya asem keto onkrofo aman so na sika wo oman mu sei wo mekon sika we bitin dia bie factories be miensa na nan a ebetima fa nipa anya hwe kura mpimdu 10,000 ama omanya adwuma ye ama oman so kura nya sika anmunyam so aba oman num ebi so oman bia obiebie nyuma ma amanfo eba mu beye bi no eyade a eboa ma ahoho kohonom e ma amanfo de sika kohyem eno ka ho bi na amankramofo aman no se koso a ye manfo adwane no mu dwane kohonom koye adwuma eja oman Ghana de ebi so onim so okwa anya hwe no obenya kakra de atutwa ne ho na ono ne mamu kakra na ewo mu no ya chedi ebede no watmatena oman nu ahokyere saa enti wo se wokọ na okope bibi ebedie na afi ede amanne na abro mu kohwe nipa ebre wo aye desert so nya asem ketwa na nipa bi mu da tadwo mu ho anya sika bi di buro so je bonkum ni fa nyina na enso so enkachi se de yewro fosu kwache kae no omudi ni nyina be ma Attorney General na afi Attorney General so ene special prosecutor so ahwehwe mu adomu so kọ na nipa bi ne ho bom mu bia empire boy ne Ghana fare se de nyina ne se nipa ne ho bom mu bia mo hwe se emra no ene ne bedi den ko ba se ayete se da bia oman Ghana da bia ye kwati committee a hwete sam nipa suma si ne disika nipa suma si ne finance ase o anya hwe saa kafra eno ani nimka o mo fa nche no anya hwe wadisika na afi so je ebi mo abubu ne aguma so se ene we di ene anya na hwe de ene yenso si bi di ngosi aga na wei no nyinaa yɛ adesuadeɛ ɛde ma wɔn mu a hesi so wɔn so nya appointment wei no kura no yɛ anya ɔhwɛ kura ne nguase ne nam ho kura no ɛno so ka wo ɛka wo ne wabusua nyinaa wei ne papa na kodi aban sika no National Cathedral sika no wei ne papa bi na kodi bi ɔdɔfoɔ yɛda wasese wo da nyinaa no wohwɛ Nkone TV ɛwɔ YouTube channel so